we should respond directly to something that Rudy Giuliani said. So he said, we don't have anybody pushing for them to die. But that's not true, as you'll see in this video.
Hey everybody, Pastor Steven Anderson here from Faithful Word Baptist Church in Tempe, Arizona. And I just wanted to record a quick video about the news this morning about the shooting in Orlando. I guess a Muslim terrorist went into a gay bar and shot him up, and there's 50 Sodomites, homosexuals, that have been killed. The good news is that there's 50 less pedophiles in this world, because, you know, these homosexuals are a bunch of disgusting perverts and pedophiles. That's who was a victim here, are a bunch of just disgusting homosexuals at a gay bar, okay? Now, let me just be real clear. I've never advocated for violence. I don't believe in, taking the law into our own hands. I would never go in and shoot up a gay bar, so-called. But I will say this, the Bible says that homosexuals should be put to death in Leviticus 20:13. But these people all should have been killed anyway, but they should have been killed through the proper channels, as in they should have been executed by a righteous government that would have, tried them, convicted them, and saw them executed. Because in Leviticus 20:13, God's perfect law, he put the death penalty on murder, and he also put the death penalty on homosexuality. That's what the Bible says, plain and simple. The good news is that at least 50 of these pedophiles are not going to be harming children anymore. The bad news is that a lot of the homos in the bar are still alive, so they're going to continue to molest children and recruit people into their filthy homosexual lifestyle. I'm not sad about it. I'm not going to cry about it, because these people were going to die. These 50 people in the gay bar that got shut up, they were going to die of AIDS and syphilis and whatever else. They were all going to die early anyway, because homosexuals have a 20-year shorter lifespan than normal people anyway. And, at least these dangerous predators, these dangerous, filthy pedophiles at this gay bar, at least they're off the streets, So I'm just trying to look on the bright side,
That's good. I appreciate the bright side.
Wow.
So that pastor, we're in an English country. We speak English, so we say pastor. If he was in a different part of the world, they might call him an imam, for instance.
Or just cleric.
Or cleric, perhaps. So that American cleric right there is looking on the bright side. He has found a way to make the statement, "I'm not racist, but," sound very reasonable by comparison. I would never shoot up a gay bar, but
it's, okay, watching
it's
him,
God's perfect law.
First of all, what I think watching him is, he might be a pedophile.
He's probably
because he's equating being gay with pedophilia over and over, like an obsessive kind of thing for it. But also the idea, like, listen, I'm not saying I would kill them, but I would certainly stand aside and watch other people do it
and be happy if they did,
and be happy, which kind of makes you also part of the problem, dipshit.
How is that not investigatable?
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump on your point, but when Rudolph Giuliani says that they're barbarians and we're not, well, according to a 2015 poll, are we going to talk about this? According to a 2015 Pew poll, they found that U.S. Muslims were more accepting of homosexuality than evangelical Christians, Mormons, and Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm actually amazed by that.
So there you go. And let's not forget that in Brazil, the overwhelmingly Catholic nation of Brazil, killing trans women is now an epidemic. Killing trans women in Catholic Brazil. This is according
here too.
This is according to The Intercept.
Yeah.
I'm reading this from The Intercept, right? So, and let's not forget that Eric Rudolph, raised Catholic, affiliated for a time with the Christian Identity sect, bombed abortion clinics and a gay bar, insisting that they were venues of immorality and evil. So there's, boom, we have it right there. Last July, an Orthodox Jewish Israeli attacked the marchers in a Jerusalem LGBT pride parade, stabbing 6 of them, and one of them, a teenager, died of her wounds, justifying his attacks by appealing to the Talmudic punishments for homosexuality. He had been just released from a 10-year prison term for doing the same thing in 2005. And now we have this pastor advocating. So again, they're such barbarians. No, we had to wrestle our culture away from those barbarians that guys like Rudolph Giuliani pander to.